Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And it's stories like this that I absolutely love because it goes to show the real problem at the heart of the S&P, and that is blatant stupidity. The failure to see consequence once more, and a total misunderstanding of what actually happens in the real world. Now, this isn't serious. This is a nice light story. We had a few serious stories today, so I thought we'll just do a nice little light story, lift the mood, just to show you really a bit of an insight onto what these people are thinking, because it's just lunacy, really. But it's not one that's going to affect anyone. This is a nice story, like I say. It's completely not going to affect anyone, except to highlight the morons that are running the S&P. So I will say, though, because we are political, if you are one of our, 60% now, we're getting it up a little bit, it's just come back, it's about 63% of the regular viewers who have not yet subscribed to the channel, now would be an excellent time. We're pushing this, we're trying to grow the truth, basically, get the truth out there. And you've seen from other things that are happening around, those who tell the truth tend to be frowned upon. But we will always tell the truth, and so you've got to help us do that. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, and let's get that truth out there. But this particular truth, though, is it's just, they're bonkers, really. We're going to just show how absolutely bonkers Humza Yousaf, and really the head of all of them, of the Politburo of the S&P truly are. Anyway, here goes. Right, so bullheaded Humza Yousaf refuses to back down on ban on gas boilers and petrol cars. Now, we covered the car situation the other day, saying that come 2030, if they do, now they don't have the ability to ban the sales, but they do have tax raising abilities. So they can say any cars sold in Scotland could carry a massive tariff and put that on if they happen to be internal combustion engine. So he does have that power. So he could do that. And he could do it, of course, again. Now, also, he's talking about doing it on gas boilers. Now, we've got around that. It said, because what's going to happen? Well, it doesn't take an absolute genius. So when old, Shuey McPhee, and there's a name, there's a blast from the past for those that remember it. Let's say old Shuey McPhee's sitting there on the Black Isle, starting to feel a bit nippy. It's October, and he's like, oh, I'll put the old gas boiler on and as a bang. And it's 2030, right? It's October 2030. He can't get a gas boiler in Scotland because they've banned the sale of them, or at least they've priced them way out of the market so that you can't get one. Well, what's old Shuey going to do? He's going to phone up his plumber and say, "Oh, I'm awful cold. Can you come and fix me gas boiler?" Plumber will turn up and say, "No, it's not fixable. I'm going to have to replace it." "Oh," says Shuey, "that's going to be a problem, isn't it?" He says, "Nah," says the plumber. He just gets on to his supplier and says, "Can you send me a gas boiler?" "Aye, say the suppliers, I'll send one up from Newcastle," because they're not going to be a problem in getting them just south of the border. And of course, there we are, a new big supplier. He says, "It's a long way up to the Black Isle." He says, "I'll meet you halfway," he says. So, he comes down, and basically they meet in a lay-by, on the A9. Money, cash changes hands. It's like dealers, isn't it? And I'll get the goods from the van, make sure nobody's looking, boom, boom, and in goes a wee gas heater. And away the plumber goes back up to Shuey up in the Black Isle, throws it on, charges Shuey an extra 20, 30 quid or whatever, but there we are. So all this, I'm not backing down rather on gas boilers in cars. Does the guy not understand how the world works? Does he not understand about free traffic, free trade? Or maybe he does want an absolute hard border, because it would be the only way he can ban things in Scotland and they stay banned. He's going to have to build a Berlin Wall kind of affair, a Berwick Wall, running sort of from Berwick to Carlisle, and with only maybe 2 entrances, armed guards, and they're checking. Is this car yours? Yeah. Well, you better not sell it when you get to Scotland. We want to see you come back out of Scotland with it and all that. He says, "We'll give you a pass. They'll be stamping your passport control. We'll give you 48 hours." And rooting through the back of your the back of your van. Oh, there's some alcohol in here. You'll not be selling that cheap, will you? Do I see a gas flyer in there? The guy is an absolute tosser, isn't he? Anyway, the First Minister doubled down on his government's net zero policies, despite Rishi Sunak delaying a ban on petrol and diesel cars until 2035, and probably they'll be unable to properly implement. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the First Minister doubled down on his government's net zero policies, despite Rishi Sunak delaying the ban on petrol and diesel cars until 2035. And there's the possibility that he'll be unable to properly implement it due to the Internal Market Act, UK Internal Market Act. But of course he can't, because roads, people, travelling, guy's a moron. He must have the IQ of a banana. Anyway, Humza Yousaf provoked widespread anger after refusing to back down on plans to ban gas boilers and phase out the sale of petrol and diesel cars, despite Rishi Sunak delaying these proposals for the rest of the UK. And if you think it's 2035, think again. The infrastructure just won't be there. As I say, in fact, and here's the thing. And I mentioned yesterday, or the day before yesterday, whatever it was, that just to do the cars would take 6 nuclear power stations. To take gas heating out of every house in Britain and have electric heating in would require, as well as the 6, you'd require a further, over the six nukes for the cars, you'd require a further 30 nuclear power stations to heat Britain's homes. Never mind the factories, just the homes. These are the numbers that have been announced in terms of power generation by the UK government. And when you break that down into your average 8 gigawatt nuclear power station, you're going to need 30 nuclear power stations. How quickly do we think that's going to come around, children? Anyway, the First Minister seemed to dispute his own administration, who announced last week that they were looking at whether to go ahead with the regulations. Net Zero Secretary and woman with zero real job, Mary McCallum, said, and she's a girl, she looks like the Saturday girl at Sainsbury's, doesn't she? Mary McCallum. Anyway, she said the UK government's decisions would have serious implications north of the border. No, they won't. No, they won't. Nobody north of the border will be imposed by this. They'll go, well, whatever you do, whatever he said, you're not allowed to buy cars, not allowed to buy gas boilers, will make no difference at all to the people of Scotland. They just buy them from England. The only people who'll suffer will be the car dealers and the suppliers up there of gas boilers. The plumbers won't mind. They just have to, the ones near the border won't be bothered. They'll just come south of the border. But I'm sure that there'll be people willing to do, booze cruises down south and doing gas boiler cruises down south too. Fill the van up, I'll take 3 Baxes, I'll pop them in, 4 crates of whiskey and a couple of Baxes. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf confirmed on Monday that he would still be pushing ahead with a ban on fossil fuel heating in new build homes from next April, and thus meaning the end of the Scottish building industry. Because what will happen is people will sit there, look at that doesn't have gas central heating. Not buying that then. I'll just go and buy this one over here that's up for sale and that does have gas-fired central heating. And meanwhile, all these builders are sitting there with these properties that they are very, very difficultly going to sell because nobody wants it. They'll be forced to reduce the prices to a point that they're going to make a loss, put some of the smaller ones out of business, make such a loss for the big ones, they're not going to sell them at that loss price. They're just going to stop developing, and they'll pull out Scotland, go down south and carry on building down south. What do you end up with? Massive housing shortage in Scotland, at a time when you've already got a massive housing shortage in Scotland. Joined up thinking. That's what I love about the SNP. They really do it, don't they? They are brilliant when it comes to joined up thinking. Oh no, wait, the other thing. Oh, that's right, fuckwits. Anyway, officials in the Scottish Government are carrying out an urgent assessment of how Mr Sunak's changes impacts on net zero policies in Scotland. Well, that'll take him a while because even he doesn't know that. However, Mr Yousaf's doubling down on them has been blasted by those within his own party as well as his political opponents. He was accused of burdening Scots with more punitive charges and was told that this was likely to get his party kicked out of power even quicker. but he boasted about his invite to New York for Climate Week. They asked me to New York. They went to New York. It was great. I'm saving the planet by getting on a plane and flying 6,000 miles for a meeting I could have had on Zoom. I mean, really, he is just a hypocritical, two-faced, toss-potted idiot, isn't he? I can't think of a better way to put it. He's an absolute moron. And if he thinks, I'm going to ban cars and I'm going to ban gas heaters, and they're not banning them in England and he hasn't got a hard border, because he said he doesn't want a hard border, how does he think this is going to work? What's his gameplay on this? Is he going to have customs men patrolling the border? He hasn't got any. He can't afford them. It's a joke. The man is a joke. The man hasn't got a clue. He somehow found himself in power and he doesn't know how he's got there. What's the term? He's a post-turtle. And I love that term. And that's exactly what Humza Yousaf is. He is a post-turtle. And I'm coming up. Well, I told you it was going to be a good one. And I know these things. I can tell in advance when it's going to be a good, funny video because I recognise sheer, absolute stupidity when I see it. And boy, has that man got sheer stupidity by the bucket load. I pity his family having to live with a moron in the house. How does he function being that stupid? And he's not the only one. It's all of them. To get in the SNP, you've either got to be evil or dim. Sometimes both, but he's not evil. He's just pure dim. He doesn't understand what he does. People tell him things and he's like, ugh. I tell you what, he's like a young Joe Biden. Can you imagine having the brain and functionality of Joe Biden as Biden is now, but in a sort of a 40-odd-year-old man? What's he going to be like when he's 80? Oh, he's never going to make 80, is he? He lives in Scotland. What am I talking about? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do hope this video, which I think is a brilliant video, I think this video utterly deserves a like for sure, but also a subscription. Hit that button, subscribe to the channel. There's more like this. We're going to try and do a lot more sort of light-hearted ones as well as the serious ones, because the light-hearted ones are still true. They're still true. These people are stupid. We need to highlight that. So do help us highlight the absolute truth in the stupidity of not just him, it's all of them really. All politicians are stupid sometime or other. It's just he seems to have a bit of a monopoly on it, doesn't he? Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and get yourself some tinfoil hats and join us as we fight for the truth. And until then, bye-bye.